Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 470, and today we're doing battle with Jax Ornn. And so, with the release of Fate's Voyage Onward, lots of people are like, oh boy, the Explorers were printed. We could never play decks based on equipment ever again. And that's just complete and utter nonsense. I've been having loads of success with Jax Ornn. I can assure you that this deck is still quite good. And the big thing for me to actually call out in terms of Jax Ornn is the big deal is not the release of the Explorers, which we're playing one of here today. The big change that's actually a problem to Jax Ornn is the change to Fish Fight. And if you wanted to tell me, hey Bust, Jax Ornn is unplayable because Fish Fight got nerfed up to 3 mana, that's a believable statement. But the statement that things like Jax Ornn are completely unplayable because the Explorers have been printed, that is just complete and utter nonsense. And so strategy number 1, I want to call out right at the beginning of the video, maybe don't do stuff like play Bone Club and then forge it 3 times and expect your opponent not to interact with that. Okay, that style of strategy, maybe that's off the books, maybe that's off the table. But for now, just playing a Weaponsmith's Apprentice into Jax and having a good equipment, or playing a Weaponsmith's Apprentice into a Piltover Castaway and just having a good equipment, that's completely fine. I mean, does it suck to have your equipment get blown up by an Explorer? Absolutely, but the equipment in this format are still quite strong. They still give you that longevity that you can really look for in playing some of the grindier kind of control-based matchups, and I still just really like how they play in this current format. And the two things that I really enjoy in this meta right now, to where we're just seeing tons of cards like Janna and the P and Z decks that are just playing a bunch of Mystic Shots and a bunch of damage-based removal, are cards that let you boost your unit's health, and so that just naturally happens with equipment. But also, we're playing a few cards like Omen Hawks and Elixir of Irons and Glacial Saurions that give a few more health bonuses along the way, but the ability to overwhelm through those decks is quite strong as well. And so that's the next kind of key feature that I really like about the Jax Ornn decks, is that you have this very strong build-up to boards with overwhelm. So we're playing the Ruthless Raider, we have the Glacial Saurion, Jax, if he's flipped, gets the overwhelm bonus from the Light of Acacia, and then Ornn having his clever ass ways to get overwhelm out on the board, whether or not that's copying Light of Acacia, copying a Fishawhack. Maybe it's good enough just to give him a fearsome equipment. You can give him Scout and attack twice, get the Ram going multiple times. There's just loads of ways for this deck to actually come out and overwhelm through opposing boards, and that's what I really like enjoy doing in this current format. And so the other things to kind of call out with this deck, we've already made mention of the Janna decks that are running around with such popularity. That's led to some of our utility cards out here, like the Bellows Breath. Absolutely fantastic at clearing the opposing boards of small units. Most of the units in the Janna deck are all small, but that also extends out to decks like the Annie, Samira, Zed, Wildfire style things that are running around. The Bellows Breath just fantastically good at clearing out big boards, and that also ties into our usage of things like Ruthless Raider, having these tough units that can just soak the Bellows Breath on our end while closing out the opposing board, works out just completely fantastically. Otherwise, the last thing to call out, not again with our decks like we've mentioned over the past couple of days, not playing Buried in Ice, not playing things like Champion Strength. We are going with our singular copy of Battle Fury. I do like the big Battle Fury in this style of deck. It lets us get that big surprise damage at the burst speed. It also has some other tie-ins with this deck, to where if you put Battle Fury onto an equipped unit, that almost assuredly is going to level up your Jax as you're attacking with like 10 or 12 or 14 power off of a singular attack. But it also helps us level up Ornn before he actually hits the board. And so lots of interesting little combos that come from the Battle Fury that don't necessarily apply outside of the scope of just blowing up your opponent with an 8 damage burn spell right at the end of the game. And so that's it. That's what we're doing battle with today. I'm checking in on the pay-to-win price, and we got one card. It's that Explorer that we were making mention of early, the Scholarly Pioneer, doing double duty with that premium treatment. And am I right? He gets a little bit premium when he hits the board, generates a premium spell to put in your hand. Pretty good stuff. The other thing I want to call out with this deck is I have managed to make it into the top 10 on the ladder. I was quite impressed with myself. We're not quite on the front page anymore I was on the front page yesterday. It was the first time I'd made it there, but falling down here to the top 10 space as it is with this 288 LP feels pretty good. It's such a challenge to actually climb up to this space in like rank 1, right? It's challenging enough to get yourself up to the top 10, but for us to even like catch Gangzera up at the number 1 space, you just have to like go 10-0, right? If you want to get 15 LP for a win for 10 games, that's 150 points. That's roughly what we need to catch Gangzera. And so the grind for that kind of thing is incredibly tough to do, but happy of our accomplishments where we got them, you know? Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it just a matter of months ago, getting ourselves up to the front page of the thing? Maybe if there had been an expedition ladder, we could have done that or something, but we've grown leaps and bounds in our ability to play this constructed format, and it feels pretty good. It's been wild to me. Like in terms of Magic, I never really realized how big rotation was in terms of kind of keeping up with Standard, and so like the knowledge of decks that you needed wasn't really that big. Like you would kind of keep in the back of your head that, you know, that deck from 6 months ago was pretty good. Maybe some ideas apply into the current formats today, but for the most part, you could kind of like play a meta for 3 months and then forget about it. But like just so many decks pop up into relevance out of nowhere, and the meta stays so wide open in Runeterra. It's taken me a long time to actually just kind of build up that knowledge of decks that you need to kind of really be successful out here. But back into the battles here, up against Jarvan Gnar. Again, this is kind of a weaker matchup for us to have to deal with. I would prefer to find some unit boosters in the early game, so I just went ahead and took a full mulligan. We found the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, also looking for things like Omen Hawk, just something to let us get a little bit more stats on board and hopefully be stronger than our opponents with just, you know, 1 unit. That's all I ask, just 1 unit, you know? And so we'll see. I'll still go ahead and protect our Apprentice here. It's not the strongest use of the Elixir of Iron. This isn't a particularly high-valued unit to be keeping on board, but we don't have anything else going on, and so I feel kind of okay keeping this around. It's the real, the bulkhead of our strategy here, just the only unit we have on board. This is a big one, though. Get that Combat Cook coming in, and so opponent is playing the Formidables deck. The Fearsome equipment can be quite good, but I'm leaning towards just taking the Fix'em 5000. We don't have anything going on with our hand. We need a lot out of this Combat Cook to be successful. And so I want to kind of try and help ensure that he survives, because if he comes down here and just gets blown up in a combat, we're gonna really be struggling out here. And so we should be okay at this point. That sexer out here sexing with our Elixir of Irons. That sex and Elixir of Iron really putting in the work in this spot. But no, keeping this guy around is so strong, especially, look at this. I mean, we don't have any more units to put on the board here. It's gonna keep protecting our bros. Out here sexing with the Elixir of Irons. It's what gets the people turned on, you know? How do you get the crowd all riled up? How do you get them ready for a Battles with Bust video? Guess you just drop an Elixir of Iron. Good stuff. Alright, there's Jarvan. We finally started to fail in the face of our Combat Cook, but that's just going to have to be okay. The thing that I'm kind of looking towards here now is I want to just leave this Omen Hawk on board. I'm going to put the equipment on it and then just play Bellows Breath. Like, we got to get something going with just our 2 units that we have here. And getting this monstrous collection of dudes with the equipments on, it's all I can really envision for us in terms of having success. And so we'll have a 6-4 quick attacking equipment that we're going to load up on Ornn. Hopefully that's enough to start getting some sweet takedowns in these combats. Alright, Ornn. Crash on in with your big overwhelming ram status. Gotta be feeling good. What is this gonna? Is this ram just lethal right out the gates? 14 attack ram. One short. It's one short into the defector. That's a pretty spicy attack, though. Am I right? Sitting there being like, man, I just want to play Galio. that was my game plan, huh? I just want to play Galio. Turns out he's not that great in this space. So yeah, we're gonna be one short on this lethal. Bit of a bummer, but we should get to clear out at least one of his good units here, right? That block doesn't work, my friend. I already did the bust math on this. You gotta get that defector in front of the ram. I guess you could have a combat trick, but with those mathematics I was doing. What is going on? Is he really gonna like flash freeze? Oh, he just gives up on it. Guess he didn't do those mathematics. GG. Well played. On to the next one. This is good. Get those big equipments out there, huh? Alright, let me get the game reset. We're missing the deck tracker. Alright, that game does point out one of the interesting things with Bellows Breath, right? It's not always just about boosting the equipment and getting the big AoEs. That did actually get in the additional damage in the sense that it puts the bonus onto the equipment, but then also just shrinking the opposing unit's health, taking them down just a little bit in terms of their stat line, letting us get that extra overwhelm damage in at the end of the day. Didn't land on his tough unit, but, you know, weakening up that Jarvan, weakening up that Gnar may not have the biggest applications right there, but that's not to say that the concept won't apply in other games. Just shrinking the opposing stats and then crashing in with your overwhelm units. Good stuff, though. So I was reminded, I've been on this kick about telling everybody to go buy buckets, right? I assume everybody that listens and watches the channel is probably about 45 years old. You know, all of us old fucks running around out here. So they already knew. You youngsters is who we're bringing the knowledge for today. Go out there and buy a bucket. But it reminded me when I started grad school, like I had lived in the apartment for a year. And then it was like right on campus. And so as the next semester was starting at the beginning of the second year, I got a knock at my door, and like you shouldn't be knocking on doors, right? It's the beyond the 2000s. You don't just show up at somebody's house and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to spend some time with you. And so you just get like this knock at the door. You just go and answer it. Here, this is kind of like that last game. Let's get rid of the castaway. Look for another unit booster, but we'll hang on to the raider. Make sure we still have that cheap play in the early game. But I get a knock at my door, and I go to it, and it's just like, it's this kid, and he's like, not a kid, I mean, the teenagers and like college-age kids are all kids to me. And so this college-age kid come up to the door, and he's like, I got a problem. I was like, okay. I didn't know I was here to help your problems. And he's like, I just moved in today, and I used the bathroom, and I clogged the toilet. It's like, okay. And he's like, I don't have a plunger. I don't have a plunger for the toilet. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I got one because I'm an adult. And so I was like, here you go, you can have it. And so he's like, no, I don't need to keep it. I'm like, no, you can just have it. You can just have it. And so he's like, all right. So he goes over there and plunges. I guess he fixes his toilet-related issues. And then he brings it back again. He's like, hey, man, I'm back. Thanks for letting me borrow the plunger. And I'm just like, just keep it or put it in the dumpster, dude. I don't need that. I don't need the toilet that's now been tainted with your shits amongst my shits. And he said, all right, I'll just take it to the dumpster for you. Thanks, boss. But that's all I could think of anymore is, you know, I guess like the thing that got in my head was like, I mean, you don't necessarily have to get the bucket just for you know, cleanup needs, carrying needs, useful thing needs. I guess you can use it as a toilet if you need to. If that toilet gets clogged up and you got to wait on the maintenance guy and you're afraid to talk to your neighbors or whatever, then that's maybe something to consider. But what are we going to do here? It's like immediately thinking of just fish fighting this Gnar, but if he has a combat trick, then we're just super far behind. Taking the 3 points of damage from it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And then we do have this like pretty good board in terms of dropping a Bellows Breath next turn. It's quite good in the sense that, you know, it's going to remove this Omen Hawk amongst all of our units that don't really want to be getting blocked by it. Right, it's kind of a free block onto the Innovative Blacksmith, so we can take it away for that extra damage. And then we should just have like a really strong attack coming into this. We have our 2 tough units that do not care. It's going to put the 2 damage onto Gnar, so he's a bad block in front of the Ruthless Raider. Like, this stuff all just looks super cool to me. Like, even if he has the strike spell, like, that's the worst thing that we could be facing here, but it's still not the end of the world. I don't know what the deal with the deck tracker is. I turned it on. I restarted it. It's still not doing anything. Alright. So he loses his Gnar. His board gets cleared. That's fine. He is going to get to respond with another Bro here, which is a touch unfortunate, but it's okay. We're getting him fairly low in health and still cruising along with this this overwhelm-based plan. So, even though we're losing on board here, we might still be able to just come in and finish this game off. Fucking J4. The bonus stats as well. Not bad. Not bad. So we'll Bird, we'll Saurion. See what we draw. Not nearly as good as J4, but Castaway does have a big-ass stack of stats on him right now. Where does that get us? Upcycled Rake. I mean, it's strong, but we don't like have the Ornn immediately, and just attacking with the Rake is going to get blocked by the Saurion. Let's just load him up with the Pot of Pain. Let's see what else we can do with it. Maybe this guy isn't playing Formidables. And I'm not entirely certain what's happening with what he's bringing to the party here. But again, this is at least not horrible if he's got a combat trick, right? This is a equipment removing fish fight and not a single combat fish fight. So if he protects the Jarvan, he's still going to be a little weak here. Sure. It's going to be tough to recover from. He's on his Warden turn next turn, and we can't really do anything about it. The J4 was pretty big. Alright, we'll block some stuff, I guess. Alright, so we just have to have something go right. I assume that this probably just never goes right. I mean, he has a million mana in hand and stuff. Like, we're gonna get zinged here. Holy shit, he's losing out on this dude. Not how I expected that to go. I assume this was just gonna be a combat trick. So it sucks to lose the one Overwhelm and Saurion, but he doesn't get to flip his Jarvan, and we might be able to overwhelm through a little bit harder next turn. Our bro Gnar, if our bro Ornn decides to turn up, he's gonna be ready to battle next turn. Let's just stop here. We're definitely gonna be like putting Fish a Whack onto the Piltover and Castaway, but we have a fish fight in hand and stuff. Let's just save this mana up for a bit, see if we can't find a better target than some of these other dum-dums. Finally take the Rake. Screeching Dragon's not that scary. Like, again, with this board, as long as we can come out and block everything, they're probably just not going to die next turn. And so I do want to get this Saurion off of the board. But we don't have to do that immediately. So let's bring in our Fish Whack. So these two attacks still look pretty good. I mean, he didn't play any combat tricks last turn. Is he really going to play more combat tricks this turn? Like, I think this is fine. I do do a lot of preaching about being in this spot to where we're making trades, but the opponent can have a bigger board than us. But, like, I think some of these units are just ignorable. Like, if he's going to be hitting us with a... like Warden of the Tribes, the game's just done anyways, right? We're just dead at that point. So we can take a hit from like a Wolf Dog, we can take a hit from one of these 5s and still be pretty healthy. Okay. What's our biggest equipment? Fishawak? Can't play it anymore. Sad day for us. So let's at least make sure our Omen Hawk has 4 attack on it. That's going to be Pot of Pain or Combat Reel. Alright, we'll go Pot of Pain. Omen Hawk's not going to be attacking next turn, right? Can't attack without the attack token. Alright, there's the Big Daddy. Just got to survive the turn, am I right? Now, unfortunately, we don't have the scout equipment on board. Picking up Fish-A-Whack out of hand is still pretty good, though. I'd rather have the Overwhelmed Fish-A-Whack than have the quick attack off the Combat Cook. So push the done button. That'll just take the biggest one out of hand. Get this meaty ass Ornn on the board. See what he can do. And the J4 again? Okay. All right. I wonder what it feels like to draw a champion. I wonder what it feels like, you know, dealing with double Gnar, double J4 when we draw our single champion on the last turn of the game. Alright, GG. Ooh, that's tough though. I thought we were right there to take that game down. If we didn't get J4'd, I think we could have gotten out of that one. There's just a ton of like units he can play there that aren't capable of actually taking us to 0. So. Bit of a bummer. Sometimes dims to breaks, though. Alright, let's see if we got the deck tracker up this time. We did it. I nailed it. I got it on the screen. God, I'm good. I'm good at this game. Let's see what we can do. We're up against Nilah Janna. This is the space, like, I'm not opposed to kind of keeping the Bellows Breaths. They can be quite strong in the early game, but this is like I want to be a little bit more proactive than that. So we'll hang on to the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Nice curve directly into Jax. And we'll see what we can do from there.
That's why Smith. Right to work.
I'm curious if we sequence this wrong, right? We're never like blocking with Jax on turn 2. He's gonna be pretty safe at this point, right? Opponent's not gonna have a way to deal 3 damage to it, and I don't think people are playing cards like Aftershock these days. But like, we're just probably never blocking, though, right? Like, I'm not blocking Mariam and just leaving Jax open to Mystic shots from that point forward. And so, I think we probably just sequenced this game wrong. Should have played the Omen Hawk into the Ruthless Raider, and then on turn 3, played the Apprentice into the Jax.
Let me change up my style.
That just strikes me as being a lot better. So I don't want to add these other units to the board. I'm pretty content with taking a 2-bank into the next turn and only playing Omen Hawk here. Like, I don't want to trade these Ruthless Raiders for Mariam. They'll find a better space in the future, especially as we've got this Bellows Breath hanging about. And then I like having access to Fish Fight. Right, it's capable of taking down Janna's, right? That's the space we'll be in this next turn now. We can play a Ruthless Raider, give it the Light of Acacia. If he plays Janna, we can fish fight. Let's go ahead and get the Hawk, though. See if we can't get a couple of stat points running around. If he plays Janna, he's not going to be able to Mystic Shot the Ruthless Raider, so it's fairly safe. And a Blacksmith. I'd still rather fish fight off the Light of Acacia, right? It's cheaper. I did the mathematics on the situation, and fish fight is actually cheaper than, or I'm sorry, Light of Acacia is cheaper than whatever we innovate here. But we'll give it a round and see what's up. I don't think we want to be fish fighting this stuff. These aren't, like, we're going to take damage here, and I'm not the hugest fan of taking this kind of incidental damage against Janna. But, I mean, we can roll into this next turn now and just Bellows Breath all these dum-dums away. So, not opposed to that. Very good Bellows Breath target as well with the innovative Blacksmith. Or, I'm sorry, with the Fish-A-Whack. He's already played 1 3 damage removal. It's kind of hard to have a second one here. Like, if he doesn't have the removal and we get the bonus onto the Fish-A-Whack, it's quite strong. Just a real annoyance of an equipment for the remainder of the game.
Let us party most hearty. Fight or die.
Let us party most hardy. Alright, Combat Squad. Look at all these other small dum-dums turning up. I kind of want our Bellows Breath back. I wasn't expecting opponent to just immediately replace the Acorn and the Vikrash with another Acorn and Vikrash. Thought we were getting a pretty good deal on what we did. Maybe we should have dropped a tough unit first, just to give him a little bit of a chance to add more dudes. So we don't need to immediately fish fight. Let's get another unit. Like, if we fish fight now, he can just attack with Mariam. And that doesn't sound super appealing to me. So let's add the Omen Hawk first.
Wait, you? Oh, I love that for you.
Alright. Get our big Omen Hawk ready to party. Feels good. Where'd Janna go? What we got now? Oh, Combat Cook? The downside with Combat Cook now is the good equipment are already kind of taken, right? We've gotten Overwhelm out of the way. He's got so many stats, though. Like, if we hit Scout, that's going to be good. If we hit Fearsome, pretty mad with his 3-1 on the board. It's just basically just Scout. But at the end of the day, I suspect we're going to be playing the Apprentice in the Light of Acacia anyways. Just hit Scout like a boss, though. Learn from the master. More Vikrash. Are we just dead next turn? Nilah's gonna flip. We'll at least have one blocker in the Ruthless Raider. And then we can probably get something else equipped. Pretty scary, though.
Wickedness shall not prosper.
Just kind of want our Bellows Breath back. not gonna be able to block Nilah. Right? She's gonna deal 1 damage to the tough unit. Not a bad 3 sisters.
Joyful and swift.
You're out of here.
You're gonna get burned.
So I mean, how do we feel about dropping to 4? It doesn't feel great. You know, it's tough to kind of gauge the amount of burn that's going to come at you, right? I don't think he's played any Mystic Shots this game, and he's played 1 Divine Whirlwind, and so dealing 4 is pretty on the table. Against these decks, I kind of like staying up at about 7, or above 7, I should say. So we're not quite going to be able to do that here. We'll be right at 7, but I think falling to 4 is just too much. I would really prefer to have that Fury of the North next turn, right? When we're trying to be aggressive, I'd prefer to try and get the damage stats off of it, but opponent says, no, you don't. Oh, it is coming in from 7, huh? Holy shit. Triple Mystic Shot with the Divine Whirlwind. All right. GG. Not a bad collection of cards to slipstream into. Slipstream into slipstream into 9 points of burn. GG. Yeah, that's tough. I think our problem in that game is like we did have the tough units in hand with the Bellows Breath, and so we could have started just putting our tough guys on the board and seeing if that can kind of bait them into playing some more elusives. It's just at that point, like the way that game sequenced was very odd in the sense that it's like, okay, well, at this stage of the game, I have every single elusive in my deck, and then at the next stage of the game, I just have every single burn spell in my deck. It was kind of odd how that came about. There's only, I guess, you do updraft in there, but I don't feel like that's the entire answer with the way that comes about. But like where I'm starting to kind of like lean in with this is there's not a ton of good targets. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should have waited, just tried for more of the birds being on board and stuff like that. That style of deck is the exact reason why we're playing Bellows Breath, and maybe just the 2 units wasn't good enough. So we probably could have baited into that a little better. But you do also run into the spot to where if we're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like wait it out and play the Bellows Breath a turn from now, you run into the spot to where you're just going to take 1,000,000 damage because they'll just open attack on you. And so if you get too greedy on that board, you're just going to get blown up. All right, into the next one, though. I'm not entirely certain what 4LW is bringing here with Samira or Riven, if this is going to be kind of like a capsized tempo deck or if this is going to be the burn spell deck, right? The Wildfire deck. We'll have to wait and see what he's cooking out here. But I definitely don't want to be starting with Ornn double fish fight. And so we'll hang on to the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, look for some other cheap plays, see what we can get going on. The sexual magic is unreal right now. We drew our Elixir of Iron. It's time to get freaky. What do we got? Not a bad draw with Jax. Right on time, my friend.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
Let me change up my style.
Yeah, curious what we're getting into here. Samira, Riven with Ionia. All right, there's the Wildfires. Should be a little more apparent what's about to happen to us. Let's see if we can't get through this turn. I mean, like, this is another one of these spots to where the Bellows Breath is looking incredibly good. We're about to get completely domed for damage, though. Like, I would assume the plan here is to just hook Jax. No, he's not going to give up his Samira to hook Jax. Let's just keep passing. This is one of these spots to where the Jax rework's a bit of a bummer, though, right? We're looking to get into combat with Jax with an Elixir of Iron, and then we're also looking to fish fight. That's the eight level up bonuses that he's missing out on because of his rework. Alright, so I'm not going to get super clever with this. I'm just going to go ahead and open with the Jax. We'll see how much stuff he adds to the board. We have the Bellows Breath. We have the Fish Fight. We can kind of play this turn by ear. You know, one of the stronger ways that we can kind of mangle these, or at least the kind of Zed Samira style deck, is just blowing them up with Bellows Breath. But I don't think that's going to be quite the angle here today. Probably should have just fish fought the Samira first, right? Because now she's going to flip. We'll still get the kill on her, but kind of awkward the way that we've sequenced this now. Like, adding the Ruthless Raider doesn't really do anything, but now she's definitely flipping with the Flare in hand. And so, like, she's going to die, but if he has another Samira, she's going to be flipped, right?
Beautiful and brutal, just how I like it.
Alright, so we're down to 12.
Fresh to death.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. This ain't just a lamb.
Still kind of reasonable, though. We got the potential to kill with Battle Furies and stuff. Never count out a Battle Fury, you know?
The past is a burden we must learn to bear.
How bad can the Riven get here? He's only got 2 mana behind. I'm just going to go ahead and drop Sari on. Like, I would rather block Riven with Sari on than this other stuff we have, and we're not really in a spot to be getting Battle Fury kills next turn. Nice. That's got to feel good. Alright, here comes the burn. There was just no way we could get the lethal this round. Where are we at? Fall to 9. That was a 3, so the 2 more wildfires will kill us by the exact amount of mana. Ugh. One short. I'm not certain if we missed any points of damage along the way this game. Well, that Samira turn was it, right? He potentially wouldn't have had the target for a for the Demolitionist if we took that Samira off the board. It's very likely they're going to have the target, but might have had a missed opportunity there. These are weird blocks. Why is he blocking our Sarions? Is he just going to go for a Riven Overwhelm? Right, you prevent 4 damage blocking Jax, but he only prevents 2 damage blocking the Sarions.
Or forgiveness.
Look at this. The Samira coming back again, giving that opportunity to say double flare us. God, I feel so bad just letting all of that go. That was the definite disaster of the game.
I sense their power.
But are we not getting wildfired here? That's pretty cool. I dig that. Like I think we can fight through this combat with the double forge coming out of our hand, right? If we get to the double counter strike.
I know my purpose.
So it's like, again, we have the Bellows Breath, but it's kind of the reverse of what we want in the sense that it'll leave the Glacial Saurion with 1 health, so he can switch. He can flare the Samira, have Samira hook the 1 health Saurion, so we have to use the double counter strike this turn. I think we just have to pass and see if he does something weird, and maybe we can get the counter strikes in. I assume he's like at this space if we just let these go. Oh. It's probably just too much overwhelm damage anyways, right? 6, we have 8 health. We're taking 5 either way. Yeah. That was on me. Couple games. A real slot fest today. If you're wanting to climb the ladder and catch up to old Yang Zera up at rank 1, you can't be making those little sloppy mistakes, you know? So, learning moments all abound. Let me get the learnings in. Let me take the LP loss for your gain. We can move on to the next one. I don't know when the last time 4LW was out there, though. He says, hey, look, I'm winning these opens and stuff. I'm making the argument for being the best in the world. When was the last time he told you to buy a plunger? You know? You ever fire up the Mastering Runeterra content and Majin Bay and Jason Florent are like, hey guys, let's take a moment here to give you some life knowledge. Buy a bucket when you move into a new house. What a bunch of losers, am I right? Calling themselves informative. Please. Alright, into the next one though. Up against Teemo Yuumi. I assume that this is probably Elusives. Like, I don't know. Like, the Bandle City Elusives decks you see play Freylord, right? So they're playing like Skip and Fizz and then using Battle Furies to win. Like, I'm not certain what to read out of this. Like, I would assume that Teemo Yuumi is trying to do elusive stuff, but you typically see Bandle City PNZ as the puff cap style deck. I think this is probably elusives, and he's just playing Skip. Yeah, there's a Kelp Maiden that almost assuredly seals the deal that we're up against elusives.
Prepared for anything.
Think we'll get one more? No? Okay. So let's take that little bit of health gain back. We can try and Bellows Breath out this board. I don't know how much opponent will read into this, but I think this is fine. We could have gone ahead and tried to lead with Innovative Blacksmith, but that Bellows Breath was going to be so strong if he just didn't have any, if he just put the extra unit on the board. Probably couldn't have even played it though, right? We would have needed to add the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. I know it pops off after the fact, but I don't know if you can cast it without a unit on board. So we can work with either equipment here, right? Both the big thing here is we want to be casting Bellows Breath onto our dude with the health, or without the health. And so we needed a health boosting equipment with the blacksmith. So that kind of works out. Losing out on one. Short.
Better get the forge going.
I got another combat friend ready to go. And then we'll see if we can't land it next turn. Like, taking 4 damage next turn off of Elusives isn't that big of a deal.
Ever been to a blacksmith before?
The Octo Adventure. I tried to get a handful of Octo Adventure based Elusives decks together. They never really happened. I was trying to use visions. I had this big plan of using visions with the elusives, and it didn't quite work, but glad to see the adventurer getting another day out here in the sun. Alright, well, I guess I'm glad we haven't been getting super invested in this Bellows Breath. We would have just gotten worked over right there. God, our combat cook doesn't even have health or attack. Alright, well, I'm going to take the forge while we can get it. We'll see what turns up with this next turn. It's going to be a fairly painful turn. Like, it's just we're too far away to be like, okay, well, let's Sarion into Sarion and see if we can't punch in for the overwhelm damage. I don't know. Maybe we should have just played the Bellows Breath as soon as we had the chance. Origami Slicer. Goodness. Alright, I think this is an upcycled Drake. Like, we do have Ornn in hand, right? And so, if we can actually make it around to our next attack token, Ornn might be able to do something. Ooh, and he blows up the fearsome equipment. Okay. I think I'm fine with this. So do we want to equip this turn or save it for next turn? We can't just Bellows Breath next turn, right? It's just the thing I start to worry about is whether or not we're going to be able to like open attack with Ornn on our next attack token. And so it's like we want to play Ornn next turn. Well, Ornn will forge on his own as soon as we play him, right? So I can live with this. It has been decided. I can live with it. So we'll see. We'll see if we end up Bellows Breathing or not here. We need to be more interested in just surviving the turn as opposed to how we're gonna just gain 1 point of health. Alright, well, I guess his attacks are done. Not feeling warm about this, not feeling good. Got a ass load of cards in hand. Alright. That's gonna be enough to death us. GG. So that's tough. Like, we had some opportunities in there to Bellows Breath a little bit earlier instead of playing the blacksmiths. It's like I don't know. It feels like the level of aggression that's coming at you just isn't that much, right? When you're just taking a couple of points of damage, right? Maybe we should have still just done it. But it's like when you have double blacksmith on the board and you're able to gain 2 health every turn, it buys you quite a bit of time to find those really good Bellows Breaths. And so maybe we should have just assumed that he was going to have a good enough answer anyways. But it's tough. Is tough. Good set of games though. I feel like it takes me a while to really get kind of ramped up into these decks, and so I would not be upset to get another 20 or 30 games in with this. All right, reasonable enough start. Got that boosted Jax right at the start again. I mean, he's not nearly as good as he used to be in this sense, right? In the days of past, the days of yore, Jax being able to, come down and attack and then block and then fish fight and give you 12 stats in terms of his level up. It was a pretty big deal.
Son taught me to never let my guard down.
Here, let me see that.
On foot.
Interesting. So we'll just protect our Jax here. Like, it is nice having the sexual iron in hand, but I don't really want to have to spend spell after spell after spell after spell. It's like, you know, we can soak like one spell at this point, but when Jax is at 1 and you have to stop like every single group shot and every single mystic shot, it starts to be pretty annoying. Alright, no interactivity here. We just got to get as aggressive as we can. It's pretty worrisome for this upcoming turn. And now the Octo Adventurer. Painful. Thought the Scout was going to be our kind of key to victory here. We would have gotten our Jax leveled up in that combat. Oh man, how do we approach the Bellows Breath, turning up at a very crucial time? Like, we have to play it this turn. I'm just curious if we can't, like, the Weaponsmith's Apprentice doesn't really do much in this match. I'm curious if we can't just get a little bit of a bait here. Let's see what happens. I'm also not opposed to dropping Elixir of Irons onto the Combat Cook to help ensure that it survives. We'll see what happens here. I'm alright with getting nasty, though. Cleared out most of it. Look at you, Combat Cook. You getting nasty. You out here cooking, bro. He's out here cooking. Giving us a little bit of extra Weaponsmith backup for our Glacial Saurion. Interesting addition with the Unforgiven Cold. I don't think we need the Saurion at this point. We have Ornn in hand. So if we get to attack next turn, we should be okay. Between the Ornn and the Jax, and then the Light of Acacia getting the bonus stats. Yeah, I'm sorry, the Light of Acacia giving Overwhelm. You just gotta hold on a little bit longer, friend. Oh my goodness. Just a little bit longer, Jax. Your Overwhelm is incredibly crucial at this point. Oh my gosh. I believe in you, bro. You can get there. No! Falls to 1. Oh my god. Okay. I'm still gonna bring in Ornn. Like, the chances of this Jax dying are super huge, but he does have to block Ornn at this point, and then we may get a chance next turn to drop. Holy shit! Woof, woof. Oh man, I was not expecting to get to survive that way. Okay. That's the overwhelming stuff you like to see. Thought we were gonna have to get like the Pioneer down and start dropping little quicksands and stuff. Okay. GG. Nice battles, Ornn. Good work. I think that's what we're gonna call it a day. So we can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. I think that we hit on a lot of the key aspects that I really wanted to get in here and be able to drive home and talk about, in the sense that, you know, we played against Explorers. Some of that shit was annoying, but it's not enough to just like say, ooh, Jax Ornn's not a deck anymore, right? We had lots of spaces over the course of all of our games to where both the equipment were very relevant and our equipment got blown up and it wasn't the end of the world. And so, again, like being in this space of like, a deck, say like Bone Club Darius, or even people used to play Bone Club in this, right? You could say play the Apprentice on turn 1, nothing on turn 2, then Bone Club the Apprentice on turn 3. That's always been like a thing. I don't think you can really get amped up about Bone Club style decks anymore. Like you can play one copy if you want to say in your head, okay, my Bone Club is a 5-drop, and I'm thinking of it as a unit that happens to be an equipment. That's fine. But I think if you're trying to build some kind of overarching overwhelm strategy behind Bone Club, like you used to see like Rico Rex playing, say, like Bone Club Gwen, then I don't think that that's really on the table anymore. But like this idea of playing the weapon masters like this, to where we have a little bit of forge, but we're not going to like forge the same card 5 and 6 times and just ask for it to get blown up by an equipment, like blown up by an explorer. I think this is pretty fine, and I'm still quite happy with the usage of all of the overwhelms that we have going on in this deck between the Ruthless Raider and the Saurion and Jax and Ornn, and generating them off the equipment, that you still have that power that you're really looking for to fight through these walls of just defensive units that you get out of the Janna decks. And so, I think this deck is still definitely on the table. It's definitely a different angle to be taking into the combat steps and into the battles, opposed to just playing Warden of the Tribes in every Freylord deck. No, don't get me wrong. I have considered playing Warden of the Tribes in this, and that is a space you can explore if you want. If you're thinking of going towards the Warden of the Tribes, you turn your Ruthless Raiders into the dog, the 2/3 dog, and then you can cut out the Scholarly Pioneer, and then you have the space to fit in the Warden of the Tribes, and then you have 4 keywords that you can hit. But that, I don't think it's quite necessary. I feel like Jax and Ornn are enough late game closers on their own. But at the end of the day, we talked about the strength of the sexual iron, the sexual magic that really turned up. The Elixir of Iron, I just absolutely love in this format. I think it's one of the great reasons to be in Freylord right now, along with cards like Omenhawk. We got to see the Bellows Breath. That was the card we easily played the most poorly today. And it's the kind of card that, had we been a little bit more astute in how we played and focused in a little bit more on the gameplay, we could have turned this 2-4 into a 4-2 very easily. And it's just, I think it's just outright better than playing stuff like Buried in Ice. It does everything that you want in terms of clearing out the opposing boards and also making your equipment stronger for use in the later games. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.